projects that we're working on at the moment is for ground maintenance for Greater Glasgow and Clyde, and winter services. So part of that is we have numerous locations, and we're looking for contractors for the provision of grounds maintenance service, including a provision for winter services, including gritting, salting, and snow clearances. We'll be looking for key suppliers to organise planned and unplanned reactive works, emergency call-outs for the grounds and winter maintenance. We have numerous locations, which I'm happy to discuss if anybody wants to ask about the locations, but that will all be specified within the tender document. So we're looking potentially for various suppliers. It hasn't been agreed just as yet on how many we are going to allow to bid for this one. It will be based on a number of lots potentially. So you will have the option to bid for one or all of the lots. But that will be made clear within the tender document once it is loaded onto PCS. What we're also looking for is to ensure that any contractors or highlight any subcontractors that they may use for any specifics or specialist items, which could be, specialist weed removals, etc. We're looking to ensure that any approved contractors will be certified, especially for the use of all-terrain vehicles and any maintenance equipment that is required. We will be looking for all the suppliers to provide all the equipment required on the sites, as these aren't held within the locations. We would expect all the lots that are being bidded on to be have a site visit carried out by the potential suppliers, so they can get a fuller understanding of the locations and the areas involved. We will have site maps available if required, but it's highly advised that site visits to be attended. And I can't think of anything else that really covers it, which again will be supplied fully on PCS within the tender documents. So if that's everything, does anybody get any questions that they want to ask?
Everybody, welcome to Supplier Development Programme and this webinar where I am going to walk you through the basics with PCS. So we will cover how to register on PCS and then how to find the opportunity from the NHS, as well as a little bit of some tips on how to respond to the tender itself. So first of all, in case you are completely new to public sector in Scotland, I want to just talk a little bit about what we mean. Now, everybody talks about PCS, PCST in conversation. May not be obvious to you what they are and what the differences are. So basically, Public Contracts Scotland itself is an advertising portal first and foremost. So that's where it's actually legally required of buying organisations in the public sector to use PCS for anything that's over 50,000 if it's goods and services, or £2 million if it's works. All has to go through the PCS portal. So the good news for you and me is that there's only one place that you have to keep an eye on if it's Scottish opportunities that you're interested in. And even better, you can choose different categories and set up an email alert service so that the opportunities that are relevant to you ping into your inbox, and you can review them and either delete the email or follow up the ones that are of interest to you. The other thing that you'll see if you go into PCS is not just main contracting opportunities, but also subcontracting opportunities. So if you are really new to the public sector and maybe quite a small company or a brand new company, you might find you're maybe not quite ready yet to bid yourself, but you could certainly be part of the supply chain. So there are quite a few subcontracting opportunities there on PCS as well. And Supplier Development Programme actually do hold Meet the Buyer events, quite often on behalf of main contractors, where they have subcontracting opportunities and they can talk you through the process. So do keep an eye on the events that are coming up in on the SDB website. So the main thing is that it's transparency, really open and transparent competitive process is enabled through PCS. So hopefully you will now want to have a look on PCS and register on it. You have to be registered to be able to respond to tenders. You can browse contract notices without being registered, but then you do need to register. Now on PCS, what you find is there's quite often multiple ways of doing the same thing. So in this case, you can see there's a register button there on the right-hand side, and there's also registration there. There's no difference. They both take you to exactly the same place, and it's really just some people probably would notice this one more, others would notice that one more. So it's entirely up to you which one you go for. It doesn't matter. What that does, it takes you to this page where you have to decide what you're registering as. So in your case, you will be registering as a supplier. Once you click that blue box, it takes you to a form, which is very, very basic. It just asks for your name, phone number, and job title, and also asks for an email address. You see over here the account email address. If you are a small one-man band, or like I am, or it's a small company, then you could get away with doing, your Juliet or whatever it is. But if you're a bigger company, then I suggest you use something like tenders at, or PCS at, or info at, or something, a generic email address. And the reason for that is that if, say, you've got 20 people in your company, you don't really want 3 or 4 people registering with Public Contracts Scotland, because when the buyer goes to do a quick quote and they look up the supplier, they'll find 4 entries and they don't know which one to choose. They may well just choose the first one, and it could be John, who left 3 months ago, and you never ever know about that quick quote opportunity. So that's why you can have as many accounts as you want, but I suggest and recommend that you only have one account, and if possible, you use this generic email address. Once you've completed it all, you have to tick the confirmation box and submit, and then you will get an email saying that you have registered, and you just need to confirm your registration by validating the email, and that's it. You will be registered on PCS. So once you've done that, the next thing I recommend that you do is have a look in the suppliers area. So you'll see these are all like tabs at the top, and they take you to different sections. So you will have, if you clicked on buyers area, it wouldn't let you go there, but you will look at suppliers area, and then if you scroll down to the bottom on the left hand side, you'll find something called the Supplier Finder portal profile even, and above that the alerts profile. These are 2 things I would suggest that you do fairly early on. So let's just take a look at the profile. So within there, there's quite a lot of characters available to you to describe what you do. So try and do that in as much detail as you can. So what services do you provide, or goods do you supply, and where are they supplied? So which parts of Scotland or the UK do you supply? Do you have any accreditations or memberships of professional bodies? Have you applied for one, been successful, shortlisted, whatever, in any awards? Tell the buyers about what your experience is, and that doesn't have to just be from your company. So if you've set up a new company, it could be the experience you've gained in previous employment. So this is not the time to be shy or modest even. So do tell the buyers all about what you've done. Drop some names in there if you can, and think about what your key message is in terms of your unique selling points, stroke differentiators. So what is it about you that makes you different? What is it makes you quicker, better, cheaper, more innovative, more environmentally friendly. Think about what these differentiators are and put them in here, and you've got plenty of characters to do that. Once you've finished it and you've chosen which regions, so you basically, on the left here, you've got the regions and you just add them across into your selected regions. You then click on this publish. So when you first register, it's set to unpublish. You then click publish and that takes you, means that you're now visible to the buyers. So if they want to do a quick quote, they will be able to find you. Okay, so that's you registered now. You've set up your profile. Let's see how to use PCS to find tender opportunities. So you'll see at the top here, we've got search notices. So if you click on search notices, this is it's like a filter really. Without this filter on, you see everything and it's in date order from the most recent first, which is quite handy. So you'll see the most recent ones up there. What you would then do is either, if you are really just looking out for this one coming out from NHS, Greater Glasgow and Clyde, then you would probably, I'll show you what to do in the next screen, but just say you're interested in all like winter maintenance, then you can put the word winter in there in the keyword and just press search. If you want to look for older ones, just to find out maybe, you know, who won them, how many tenders there were, that kind of thing, remember to include archive contracts. That's this little tick box at the bottom, and that shows you older ones, because after a certain period of time, they do archive the notices. But even you can see here, now this was taken a while ago, but there were 500 and odd notices there. So 577. So it's not really a good idea to scroll through page by page by page because you would be there forever. So usually you do use these search functions. You can search by location as well if you want to, and you can drill down, or you can go into the category, the types of notices. So there'll be contract notice, contract award notice, future information, and so on. So just show you what I did earlier when I was looking for one. So here you can see that I put in NHS Greater, so it doesn't have to be the whole thing. I just said, show me current opportunities, and then you click search notices at the bottom. So you can see here there was 11 items. So they have got, sorry, I keep touching this mouse by mistake. They have got 11 notices at the moment which aren't archived, which are contract notices. So quite a lot of activity going on, quite busy little bees putting these tenders out. So yes, that's how you would find it when you're looking for it. And you can see you can cut down from 500 odd to 11 right away. Sometimes I do use keywords, but then it might be that you miss something. So if it's garden maintenance, they might call it landscaping. I know that's probably not right, but sometimes if you put a word, you might miss something. So sometimes it's good just to put, you can try lots of different things and see if you can find it. Once you've found it, sorry, what I'll do is I'll go back to there. The heading there, the title is blue and the rest of it's black, and it's like a hyperlink. So if you click on that link, it takes you to the actual advert for that, where you can see everything. So you can see here, you've got different tabs along the bottom, which you can scroll through and you can read into greater detail the full notice text if you want. But you can't actually respond to this tender at this particular time, because what you need to do is record your interest. So this sort of submarine blue box here, that's what you click on. Click on that and you will record your interest. Once you've done that, you don't need to search for it all the time. If you go into your suppliers area and your interest list, if you scroll down, you'll see that there are different tenders in the there that you've already expressed interest in, which means that if you're working on 2 or 3 at the same time, you just go straight into your interest list, current notices, click on that, and it takes you straight into the contract notice itself. Okay, so it'll just take you on to, oh, I'll have to come back. Sorry, somebody at my door. So responding to the NHS tender. So what we need to do, once you have expressed your interest in the tender, first thing to do is download all of the documents. So these will be uploaded to the advert itself, and you download these. What I do is I create a folder, so I'll have NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde. I'll have the closing date of it in the file name, so that every time I go into that folder, I know when it closes. Then within there, I've got a subfolder called Tender Docs, and I'll save all the tender documents in there so that I don't always have to go into PCS if I want to have to look at something. I recommend that you read through these documents really thoroughly, make a note of all key information. So things I would look for are, what are the minimum criteria? What font do they want me to use? Is there a word or page limit for each? What the closing date for questions is, as well as the time for the tender. Don't do what happened to, I was on the procurement team recently, and a supplier who had been doing tenders for years didn't check the time. They assumed it was 5 o'clock. I don't know why, because most of them are 12 o'clock. But they missed the tender deadline. So they tried to submit at 3 o'clock, by which time they couldn't, because it passed the 12 o'clock deadline and the tenders had been open, so they couldn't submit it at all. When you're doing that, read the specification, highlight all the key things, and also, as importantly, highlight anything that you think needs clarification, where you've got a question on it. So if you could do that. Then there may be an online SPD, and that's a single procurement document. It's either embedded within Public Contract Scotland, or in this case, it might be a Word document that's used. So you can have a look at that and either complete it online or upload it as a Word document. Now, when you're reading this, you may have loads of questions pop into your mind. Don't worry about it, and don't think it's you. It probably isn't. Probably got lots of people thinking exactly the same thing. If you don't understand something, it's probably because it isn't clear. So do ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask. Keep asking questions until you're absolutely sure what is required of you. Once you've created your response and completed all the documents, then you would upload those documents. Keep saving it as you do. And then finally you'll submit it. Ideally the day before, if not earlier than that. Do not leave it till the day of the tender closing, because anything could happen. You could end up ill, you could end up with no internet. Things can take a lot longer to upload than you think, so just don't leave it to the last minute. It's just not worth it. So what I've done for you today is put together some top tips on doing your tender. So the first one is to shred the question. So that means I call it chunking it down as well. So basically you take the question and you use that to create headings, which will help. It will help structure your response. It makes it easier for the buyer to see that you have responded to each of the areas, and it helps you to not forget any of the particular areas in it. Another thing is, when you're doing quality questions, always remember that they are forward-looking. So you're always talking about what you will do. And you have to be really specific in your response as well. So, for example, if it asks you for what staffing you'll use on the contract, then it's not about your overall company structure. It's about what specific numbers of people and supervision and management, etc., you will have on this particular contract. So they're looking there for named people, what their skills, qualifications and experience is, and they might have like an organogram or, you know, an organisation structure, but it's actually about the specific contract. There will be word count or page limits there. So what we would ask here is that you do try to use the word page count that's given. If it's a 3-page word count and you do half a page, there's a very good chance you won't score very well, because it's just not going to be possible for you to have gone into enough detail and depth. So the way that to expand it is, sometimes it's really hard when it's your business, because you just know what you do. But when you're trying to write that down and explain it to somebody else, the questions that I think are quite useful is to think, have I described what? And then I need to describe how. So if you can describe how, then you get into a lot of detail. So we will be able to arrive on site within 1 hour. Specific, that's good. That's a what. How are you going to do that? How will you be able to get on site within 1 hour? You know, what sort of who's going to take the call? How's that going to get allocated to somebody? How's that somebody going to be able to get a vehicle and get on site within an hour? With the right equipment and so on. So then when you start thinking about it like that, then you know you have got probably about 50 or 100 words just describing that. So that's the way to expand and to make it a much more detailed answer. Also think about, so what? You know, we will have a dedicated account manager, yeah, and what are they going to do? What benefits are they going to bring to the buying organisation? Why is that a good thing? So that's your so what questions. Always think positively, always write positively. So don't criticise competitors, for example. Don't criticise the buying organisation. So if there is something that you want to say, then try to use a clarification question, or put it in a different way. I do review bids for suppliers, and sometimes I do see quite often a negative start, like, you know, we can't be there within an hour, but we'll be there within 2. You know, that kind of thing isn't good. So yeah, try to write things positively, and also use the active voice. So that's, I've given you an example there. Julie will run reports weekly, or reports will be run by somebody, or even just reports will be run weekly. So it's just much more engaging to read, and you wouldn't think it makes much of a difference, but it actually does to the reader. Think about what evidence you can bring. So if you can, for example, if you're talking about reports or dashboards or whatever, could you use screenshots? Do you have feedback from customers? So you could say, we do customer surveys every 6 months. That's fine. But if you then carry on and say, you know, for 2021-22, the feedback was that 98% of our customers rated us good and excellent, then that is much stronger message than just saying you carry out surveys. And you could say that the top 3 suggestions for improvement were such and such and such, which have now been fully implemented. And suddenly you can see again how it expands and becomes more evidential. Try to avoid putting appendices in. The reason is, there are word counts there for a reason. That's so because if there's lots and lots of tenders, the buyers don't have to plough through hundreds and hundreds of pages. There's a good chance either sometimes the appendices don't work, so just say it's an embedded document and it doesn't work, or you forget to upload it or something like that. So just try to keep to the body of what you're writing. Then if you have one person writing it, then it's always a good idea to get somebody who hasn't been involved to have a read through. Make sure you pick up all the spelling and grammar, that it makes sense, that sentences and paragraphs are all finished, that it's laid out nicely, it looks nice, it's dead easy to read, and it makes sense. So it's really important at that stage, and build in enough time for that. As I've said before, but I can say over and over again, do remember you have to press submit. The buyer will not be able to see your response until you do that. And as I said before, don't leave it until the day. So what I've got here is a sample question that similar to what you might see. So you can see it's a fairly hefty question. There's lots and lots to it. And it's written in a very much a paragraph format. So what I do in terms of shredding that question is you basically take the question, copy and paste, and then turn that into headings. So you can see here that once you start to do that and you've got headings and you're basically chunking it down into manageable chunks, then suddenly, instead of being overwhelmed by a question, suddenly you've got certain things that you think, right, okay, now I know what I'm doing. So our understanding of the scope, let me have a look at the specification. Let me more or less repeat what is in the specification, so it shows that what I understand is actually within the contract. What's our role going to be within that? What are we going to do? And then so on, and work your way through the question. Now, if you take a really methodical approach like that, and don't be overwhelmed by it and look at it in its entirety, you take one question at a time, strip it back into headings, take one heading at a time, and just work through it methodically like that. And it's a bit like doing an exam. You might find some questions are harder than others. What I would say to you is do the easy ones first, because you can then say, right, that's done, that's done, that's done. Now I'm going to concentrate on these ones, which are a bit more tricky, are going to take me a bit more time. But you can see why it's important that you do leave plenty of time to do these tenders, because this is just one question has led to all of these headings. So if there's say 6 questions, then it's not 6 questions. You've actually got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 questions times 6. You've actually got 40 questions when you look at it like that. So you do have to build in quite a lot of time. As I said before, ask questions via Public Contract Scotland. They will be anonymous. They won't know who's asking the question, but they will have to share every single question and answer with everybody that's involved in the exercise. So don't worry, don't think, oh, this is a stupid question, I can't ask it. Do ask it. For a start, as a buyer, it's actually really good to know that there are suppliers out there who are reading this and plan to respond. You're always dead pleased at that. So don't be afraid to ask questions, and it certainly isn't viewed negatively. You may find yourself making assumptions, naturally making assumptions. Try to think to yourself, is it obvious that, or is it definitely spelled out, or is there something that I need to ask to clarify something? The way that you ask clarification questions is there's a tab there called Q&A, and when you go into that tab, you can ask a new question there. Just notice as well that up here, this is where you create your response as you go to Postbox, and if you decide it's not for you, you can also withdraw your interest so you don't continue to get all of the questions that are coming through. But what you can see here is all of the questions asked that are in order, and this time actually they're in the opposite order. They're in the order of the first one first, and the most recent one's at the bottom. So it's the other way from what the adverts are. So just before we go live, let's have a wee look at what else you can use PCS for. So I said you can set up alerts. Instead of feeling that you have to always look at your emails to see what those alerts are, in your suppliers area there is a recent alerts list, and if you go in there you can see all of these. If you like, you can keep it all tidy. You see there's a tick box at the end, so you can tick that and then you can delete the ones that you're not interested in, because obviously you won't always be interested in them. But if you click on each of those, it takes you to the actual advert. You can search for buyers, which is a fantastic facility just, at your fingertips. So you can either put a buying organisation name in there. So you might want to say, I'm going to put everything with Glasgow in it and let's see who else is there. Or you can choose a particular sector, or you can search, as you see, by the alphabet down here. But you can see in this instance, there was over 1,500 buying organisations. And for each of those organisations, there's quite a lot of detail in there. So a very easy way for you to be able to contact any particular buyers that you want to contact. Then within information and support, you'll see there are lots of different things there. One of the things I want to draw your attention to is the forward plan. What that does is it shows you existing frameworks that are available and ones that are coming up. So you can see down here, there's links to the public procurement regulations, and there are also videos there that help you get started on PCS. The last thing I want to talk about is quick quotes. Now, it's not relevant to this particular requirement because it will be a tender that's advertised, but just to let you know that you can use PCS to receive and respond to quotes. These are used for low value, low risk type procurements, or if there's a framework agreement in place, then it will be a mini competition with underneath that, which they use the quick quote facility to do. Now, there are lots of these quick quotes going on all the time, but you can't search for them. You won't know they're going on. They are the submarines of the procurement world. They are under there, but you just can't see them. So how do you get invited? Once you've done your supplier finder profile, you are then visible. And the other thing is to make yourself known to buying organisations, either by attending meet the buyer events or contacting them, because their details will be on there, and introducing your company. Okay, now before I go on, I want to know if there's any questions before I go live. And also, Fran, did you say there was something else you So this is us in PCS. You see up here, this is where you register. And so if I just click on that register, here's the familiar screen that I showed you just to register as a supplier. Once you've registered, most of these are mandatory fields. You have to choose this nuts So you can either just choose, it depends how specific you want to be. It doesn't matter. It's actually really just for the purpose of Scottish Government to be able to report, they've got X number of suppliers registered on PCS, and this is where the spread is. You've got X number in Greater Glasgow, you've got X up in, Inverness and all that kind of thing. But once you have filled that in, you then click the confirmation, click the newsletter if you want it, and then submit. And like I say, you'll get a confirmation email. Looking at the notices, so you can see here, we've actually got 9,532 contract notices in PCS which aren't archived. So they're actually live, but they're not live. It might be that they've passed the deadline. So they don't actually archive them as soon as they're finished. But you can see you've got a different varieties here. You've got a contract notice, so that's how you know they're not contract notice. I get clients phoning me and saying, oh, I've seen something in PCS that I want to go for, but it doesn't have a deadline date on it. Well, that's probably because it's a contract award notice. So you can see here, deadline date blank because it's passed. So yeah, it's a contract award notice. But that's the first thing you would look at. What type of notice is it? Like I say here, you can either put you could put ground in here, and then we'll maybe put NHS. I want to just see award notices, but I want to see old ones as well. Click search. It takes a wee minute. Right, so here's anything that's got. Now, it is really interesting process in the sense that it's quite good at the search functionality is really good in it. It's probably as good as likes of Google, because you can see here a ward of door set and panel window replacement doesn't have anything there that says ground, but somewhere within that description, the text information, it must have ground in there. So there's a framework that was awarded in 2021. So yeah, you'll see different things there. You start to sort of go, oh, what's that? Oh, I'll have to have a look at that. But that's results, and then you can look at current opportunities and see contract notices there. So let's just take one. If you click on that, then you can see in here, that's the button that I said you can record interest in. You can see, you can actually go into the full text and have a read of what is required, what they're going to be using. And then you can go in here, doesn't give you any information who the person is, James Guthrie, and what the coding is. So this is about electrical works. Then if you record your interest, it does ask you to log in. All of that can be done without even logging in. And now that I'm logged in, I can actually see the specification for it. The other thing that I'll point out is you can also see the number of downloads for it. Now this is actually passed, so it's expired, so it won't let me express interest in that one. But normally you can, and then you would go into your suppliers area, go into your interest list, and it will be there. And also if you go down to your, this is your supplier finder profile that we looked at. So you can fill that in, put your bit of blurb in about your organisation, add your logo, choosing your 6 keywords quite carefully so that you know that the buyer's going to be able to find you, and then always remember to save it. You can save and view, and that's what it actually looks like when the buyer clicks on it. You can see what it's actually going to look like. So go back to suppliers area, as I said, go down to, where is it? Oh yes, notice alerts. So in notice alerts, you'll see these are the ones I've been alerted to. You'll see also I'm not very good at going in here and just deleting them all, but you can easily just delete these ones that you think you're not very interested in. And delete and click OK. If you want to keep that list fairly neat, you can do that. You don't have to because it's in date order and you can see if there's a deadline or if there's not. So, but it means you don't always have to keep the emails that you get on a daily basis. So that's a wee bit of a wee tour around what I was thinking I might be able to do. That's a pin. These have actually been issued fairly recently, these contract notices. Oh, typical, they're not using PCS. Let me just look at current opportunities. Right, so click on there. And this is where you can read more about what's being required and record your interest in it. You'll be asked just to save it and then you can continue. And then it will appear on your interest list. It's a bit sticky. That's it. Just have to be patient. I'm not very good at being patient. So here you can see the documents that are here. So you've got a download of the tender pack. It's just in one. There's been 25 downloads of this one. You can see there have been no questions. And the deadline is 23rd of September. And then you can go to Postbox. So if you go to Postbox, this is where you see, this is where you create your response. So you can see in here, this is, you create it there. And it starts off like this. Now they are using an embedded SPD, single procurement document. So you would go in that. I'm not going to click on that because it, it gets you into a sort of a loop that's quite hard to get out of. But that's where you would generate your SPD response. But there will obviously be documents that you need to complete. So just say you've got pricing, and then you choose a file from your computer and then add it. And then in here, you just put a wee covering letter, dear NHS, and so on. And then you could either save it. So every time you're finished something and you're ready to upload it, you could go and do that at once, or you can do it at the end, but always remember and save and exit. And then once you're finally finished, you submit, i.e. dispatch your response, and you will get an email to tell them that that's it away. So I think that's really all I wanted to cover, and hopefully that's given you a good insight into what's going to be asked of you when this contract notice is published.